What's poppin', y'all? After a shaky start to Metro Boomin's A Futuristic Summer album release and the reception of it, partially, I wouldn't say led by Joe Budden, but Joe Budden wasn't too fond of it either. Covered this in a previous video. However, Metro Boomin has stated that he wants to pull up on Joe Budden now. So, Metro Boomin initially retweeted a tweet by a fan that said, "I'm sorry, but the JBB, the Joe Budden podcast, ain't ready for this new Metro at all. Nah, they don't know black boy, white boy swag like that. That includes Shop Boys, Young Dro, Waka Flocka, Travis Porter, J Money, Rocco, Rich Kids, Roscoe Dash, shaking my damn head." So, and then he says, "A lot of y'all get no chicks and it shows." And a lot of people felt that this was him taking shots at Joe Budden. Like a page even put out Metro Boomin with some Joe smoke. And this was posted inside the Joe Budden TV Twitter group, Twitter community. And then Metro Boomin followed this up by saying the next day, saying, "Let's not do this. Big fan of the Joe Budden podcast, and I've been a regular viewer for years." I think this is really cool and dope for him to admit, because even people like Joe Budden probably don't know how many people that not are just within the industry, but how many artists watch their stuff and watch it, like, not religiously, but watch it consistently. Like, they might think, yeah, of course, they've seen the clips. We're one of the biggest podcasts, top 5 biggest podcasts, maybe in general, especially if those numbers are real that Joe Budden's talking about, but definitely top 5 biggest podcasts within hip-hop. So for people to see our clips, it's, of course, but to have somebody admit something like this it's exceedingly rare. You guys have no idea. Rappers and producers, I don't think they have much of an issue like showing love or letting somebody know that they mess with their content. But rappers, they see a lot, especially if it's about them. But here he's saying, "I'm even a subscriber on Patreon. I respect everything that was said up there, except Ish saying no girls are listening to this. Dog, are you crazy? LOL. All love." Now, I will say, having listened to this Metro Boomin album, when he's talking about that, Ish might be right in saying that no girls are listening to this. Grown women above the age of 30, yeah, they're probably listening to this. Chicks between the ages of 21 to 26, they're probably not listening to this. I don't think he's wrong in saying that, because where this album appeals to most is people from that region that enjoy going back in time with a modern producer. So I'm going to play you guys the clip that got Metro Boomin to react in this way from Joe Budden real quick, and then we're going to move into when he says he wants to pull up on him.
I got right to 2. This is what happened on 2. Don't worry, Parks. My review is pretty short, so you be ready to plug in.
Oh, no.
This is the first thing I heard.
I just wanted to give Ish
I didn't know nothing about no 2000s shit he was doing. And listen, for me, this was on some 6 in the morning shit. I'm listening to this.
Yeah, no, that ain't going to do it.
That's when I skipped this. I went to the next track. This is what was going on the next track. At this point, I figured that I wasn't listening in the right place.
That's what I thought.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So I cut this off and I went to the next track. At this point, I'm on track 4 in the album, and I'm saying, the Metro has one of my favorite producer tags. Which I shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, I shouldn't be.
If I'm at track 4.
I had a similar thought.
The Metro producer tag is hard.
Yeah.
Look, now this would be cool if I was with the first 3. But I'm still waiting for my vibe. All right. I got right out of there and went to track 5.
This sounds much like my listening experience.
I'm giving you my experience.
No, I think I was kind of the same.
Yeah.
I went to track 5. I cut it off immediately, never to return to it.
Reasonable.
Now, I'm not saying that I won't return to it.
Made your coffee extra hot, some bullshit.
That was the end of my Metro Boomin experience. So if y'all have more to add, please feel free.
I got to 6.
One further.
Wait. It's 13 tracks on disc 1. So then I was like, all right, maybe that's a disc.
Oh, shit, it's more.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a long fucking album.
So I was like, all right, maybe that's a disc 1 type of thing, 2 different
That
vibes.
makes sense.
You know what I mean?
All
right, cool. Let me go to track 1 on disc 2. Can you press it?
Oh, sure. There's a whole nother disc.
This might be like an ode to Atlanta. Maybe Atlanta loves it. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I applaud the.
It's something different though.
He went for a thing, and I think that he executed the thing
perfectly.
I maybe just don't want to hear that thing this morning. I may feel differently if I hear it in a different environment.
And another thing I didn't like about this, Metro's not a rapper. 1.
Yeah.
okay, cool, but it's a Metro Boomin album.
Right.
So we know it's flooded with features.
Correct.
I don't know who anybody is on this album.
Yeah, they didn't put the names on nothing.
It's cool when, this is, like I know Travis does that a lot, but I know I'm getting Travis Scott on every album, then you get surprised by the feature.
Right.
Who? Like,
Yo,
that don't work
if
here.
you a producer, put the names of the people
Yeah, like,
on
that
the
don't work
song.
here.
Yeah.
Say featuring like a decent human being is all we saying. Come on now.
It is-
Metro, come on.
It is particularly difficult with a producer album.
So this was the Joe Budden review, and I do think it's not too great to cut it off at 5 or 6 tracks. Like, at least give it a full listen. And I do think that Metro Boomin has earned the right to get a full listen to a project after how much good music he's put out. And I do think after that initial podcast episode, Joe Budden might have gone back and listened to the rest of the project. It is a double disc album. I'm almost done with it. I was like, because even for me, after the first 3 to 4 tracks, I sent out a tweet and I said, yo, this thing is basura. Like, this is absolute trash. And I continued listening because I was like, listen, Metro Boomin put a lot of effort into this. He's given me a lot of amazing music. Let me see if this gets better. And you're going to have to wait for my thoughts on that later. So Metro Boomin ends up tweeting the following. You do know we dropped 23 songs with no murder talk or explicit sexual lyrics, right? A futuristic summer. I think this was one of the important things to highlight because things like this you don't notice unless you're told about it. And it's best if someone else says it than the actual artist or producer in this case. But regardless, I think it's important for us to, like, for example, like Russ's first album, like, mixed, mastered, engineered, produced, written, all one person. And that album is, I think, multi-platinum. It's had multiple platinum hits on songs. That is a huge feat. Like, especially when I learned, like, the whole double platinum with no features meme, that it became a meme by J. Cole. But things like that, it's better that we know about them. I think some people turn it into like a reason to hate and like that the artist is flexing, but I'd rather the artist flex them doing something difficult. Now, granted, some people are probably like, listen, maybe you should have talked about that stuff. And even if you did talk about that stuff, it would still be trash. But I think the more impressive part is him getting certain artists not to talk about that stuff on the songs. Like, for example, certain features that he's had, like Young Thug, who kind of isn't allowed. We don't even know what he's really allowed to talk about at this point, 21, etc. And then Academics TV, Academics' right-hand man. And I already released a video on this, but it's a little bit odd because Academics is kind of defending Metro Boomin, but Academics TV is right-hand man who he co-signs everything he says. He goes in on him and says, Metro Boomin tries to guilt trip people into listening to his album that tragically flopped by persuading them with moral cool points, claiming that there was no murder talk or explicit sexual lyrics. This is one of the people, this account is so funny because you see the lengths to, like, this is Elastigirl types of reach. Like, he's trying to guilt people into listening to his album by persuading them with moral cool. I don't think any of this is real. I think he's just saying, hey, look, something that you've known people that hop on my beats to do, I made a whole project without doing any of that. And I think that's cool. However, he continues on, and Metro Boomin addresses the Joe Budden podcast and says, I'm trying to pull up to the JBP. I've always been a fan of the show, and I always wanted to do it, but I feel now is the perfect time. At Joe Budden, what's good, Virgo brother? And then Ian Schwartzman, who handles some of the business back end over there, says, shoot me a message so we can get you up. This is great. I think this is going to be an amazing, amazing podcast. The reason for that is as follows. A lot of these artists, they don't like being... There's this relationship that has developed, or that had developed back in the day, where it's like, hey, look, people come up to a radio station, you don't give them Charlemagne was known to give difficult interviews, but a lot of the interviews, it was like, hey, you don't take things too far, and a lot of the radio hosts, they didn't give too much of their opinion if they're fond of an artist and wanted to maintain that relationship. But then you got this rise in media. Really, you could say it was led by Academics, but Academics and Joe Budden, who just didn't give a F. Joe Budden didn't give a F because he was like, yo, look, I'm done with this music industry. I don't need relationships. I'm doing my own thing. I'll say whatever I want, and that's my opinion. That's where we get a walkout moment like he did with the Migos. Even Academics at that point was trying to be cordial and get through an interview, and Joe Budden was like, man, screw this. I'm not dealing with this garbage. I don't have to deal with this. So we know that Joe Budden is somebody that is going to give his opinion directly to a person and to his audience, and he's not going to walk it back. This causes it to be difficult for these types of individuals to get guests, because the guest is like, hey, look, man, if I'm going to go on a platform that's going to show me in a favorable light versus going on your platform where you've spoken to me negatively, not only am I, quote unquote, doing you a solid because I'm hopping on your platform and it's going to up it because of my brand value, which is true, but I'm going to have to answer questions that I don't really want to have to deal with. And I think a lot of artists don't want to do press anyway. It's kind of like athletes. It's just a part of the job. So you get this weird space where the people that get the interviews that everybody wants are the ones that aren't asking hard questions, and they may be fun and entertaining interviews, but you're just like, well, none of the important stuff got asked because the people that were going to ask the important stuff didn't get the interview. Do you see how that works? But in this scenario, we get to have Metro Boomin pull up, because now this would be, I would hope that this is the first interview and Joe Budden would ask him everything, because now we have a scenario where Metro Boomin can tell us why he made this album, what was the inspiration behind this album, how difficult was it to make this sound, considering it's so far from what Metro Boomin regularly makes as a producer. And he can explain to them what he was aiming to do and how it's being received in Atlanta. We need somebody to report from Atlanta, not just Metro Boomin. Frankly, we need, actually, hit my comment section. I know there's a lot of Atlanta people here. My Atlanta people that either go to clubs, you might be a young teen, you might be in your college years. Are people bumping this in Atlanta? Let me know. Let me know your title. So say like, hey, I'm a student, or hey, I'm in my 20s, I'm graduated and I'm working, or I'm in my 30s and this is how we're feeling about it outside, not you personally, or maybe like you're walking around and you're like, yo, this is actually creating real positive energy. So I want to get a report of that, but Metro Boomin will be able to give his own perspective on that. And then we can get a really, really nice back and forth, because it's also coming from a perspective of Metro Boomin as a fan of the show. So he likes the show. He already likes the dynamic that those guys have. And it's going to be not a hostile interview. Like, he doesn't have to feel like they're going to try to hit a gotcha moment on here. Like, I can actually have a conversation. And that's one positive thing about, well, there are a lot of positive things we could say about Joe Budden's podcast. But that's one of the many positive things about Joe Budden's podcast, is that despite him giving his pure opinion, which is sometimes quite brutal and entertaining for us, he is always having in-depth conversations with these artists and knows how to ask questions, because he's been a rapper. And I also think that is part of the reason why people mess with him more. That, you know what this is like. You know how hard this is. You know what it's like to get feedback. And I'm just really interested to see Metro Boomin's genuine reaction to him being received poorly, because that's not something that Metro Boomin is used to. He's been getting praise for the better part of 10 years. I think, what was it, the Double or Nothing album with, who was that? Big Sean? That might have been the most negative review that Metro Boomin has ever got. And that wasn't even that bad of a negative review. A lot of people have mixed opinions on that album. This, you could really see it leans towards, like, we're not messing with this. And how much does Metro Boomin care? So did Metro Boomin initially just think like, yo, this is for Atlanta, these people are not going to mess with this? Because if he did, then I don't think this bothers him that much. However, if he thought like, yo, I'm going to show these guys Atlanta, I'm going to take Atlanta to the world with this old style that was really just regional, then it seems like that fell flat. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Are you looking forward to this conversation? Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm going to see you on the next one.